it's going to be. Here we go. So today we have kind of a dual session. I'm going to start first by talking a little bit about the certification, the Cards API certification itself. And then I'm going to hand over to Peter, who's going to walk you through travel industry overview. So we're going to keep it kind of fairly light for this week before we go into kind of the deeper end of things next week. So the goal of what I would love to walk you through in the first 10 minutes or so is really for you to understand the objectives of why we're doing this Cards API certification, for you to understand how the training is going to look like week on week, and for you to understand how the certification itself is going to look like. So this is what I'm going to just quickly walk you through. So first of all, why we're doing the certification, right? In essence, we're looking to grow GP from Cards API products by enabling certified AEs to sell Cards API. Or in other words, we're looking to scale the team that is able to grow, to sell this product in order to support faster and further product growth. Now, what's in it for you as well? We see this as a great opportunity for increased earnings potential for certified AEs. And also like an opportunity to upskill. Now, obviously, you're all here because you were indicated as a great, people with great sales skills already. So we're just looking to kind of add on top of that and walk you through the process of selling this specific product. Now, when we talk about what's in it, of course, we have to talk first of all, in terms of monetary value. So post-certification, like if you are successfully certified, there will be a 15 percentage point booster applied to all of your Cards API deals for 12 months. You're also going to have an opportunity to grow your GP from travel clients. There's an opportunity to collaborate with our partner Sabre. And of course, as I mentioned, like kind of to grow your sales competence in this specific field. Maybe Peter, you want to add here a bit more on that kind of like from your team's perspective as well.
Certainly. Thanks, Gabriella. Great to see you, Veronica. I think, unfortunately, Alex, we'll definitely get to know each other, but I think I've had connect with everyone. Declan, I know we've exchanged messages in the past too. So, Alex, we'll need to get to know each other. But great to see you, Veronica, and I was delighted to see your name on the potential candidates. So, in terms of what we have done, I guess I'll speak from my perspective, and then we'll broaden to the kind of team perspective. So I joined Revolut as a product sales executive, focused on the embedded finance solutions, which covers the Cards API, just about 2 years ago. Quickly scaled in the role and exceeded targets. So it really scaled quite aggressively. By month 6 to 9 selling the product, I had achieved 6-figure performance, so over 100K GP generated in a quarter, and that kept accelerating as my book of accounts grew. In the interim, and based off the success, we've expanded the team exponentially. So we had 3 PSEs, now we have 12 PSEs dedicated to the card product. And over the last 6 months, I've taken on the role as the sales manager for our card solution. So really privileged position, and we've had lots of success in the industry. So just to kind of double down on some of the key metrics, we have exceeded 1 million GP as a team in a single quarter. That was back in Q3, and we're very close to that same performance in Q4. Of course, travel is seasonal. So generally we would see a slight dip in Q4 across the board. We are now ramping up to smash it for Q1. So again, with this product, we tap into a really kind of clear use case for travel companies, and all accounts we close generally, provide very high SAGPA. So we actually have over 300 accounts. That's actually closer to 400 accounts. So we're rapidly closing deals. There is about 40 new travel companies onboarded in the last 1 to 2 weeks. And this slide was created, maybe 3 weeks ago. So as you can see, we're scaling quite fast. In terms of opportunity size, we work on a varying client base. So we have medium-sized companies within the mid-market space. And then we have ultra strategic accounts such as KiwiDip.com, who you may have heard of. So that was a deal that I worked on exclusively myself as a PSE. And that company has generated in excess of 120K in GP in a single month. They contributed about 400K for my target back in Q3 of last year. So again, we really have some whales when it comes to the customer size. And again, the ability to exceed a six-figure target. So that is the ultimate goal. Of course, it's percentage-based commission here at Revolut. So the bigger number you bring in, the bigger number is going to be in your paycheck. So Declan, we want to get you on another holiday. Guillaume, we want to get you a new tennis racket. Veronica, we want to get you back skiing and scuba diving. And Alex, we're going to get you a piano, right? So it's all GP driven. We're very numbers focused. And again, this product allows us to actually, achieve this very high performance. So that's just a quick overview. Again, we have varying PSEs. Some are, over 3 years tenure with Revolut, and some are, within their first 9 months with Revolut. And again, as Gabriela mentioned, we want to expand the product. We want to leverage our existing fantastic core team, such as yourselves. And this pilot is a really exciting opportunity, again, to kind of upskill and have a unique opportunity to participate, learn the intricacies of travel, maybe get a couple of sales tips in terms of sales processes. And it should be quite fun as we progress over the next couple of weeks. So I'll pass back to Gabriela for now. But yeah, let me know if there is any questions on any of the points discussed. Please feel free to raise a hand.
Thank you, Peter. That really brings it to life. So I'm not going to spend much time on this. As Peter mentioned, we have some very interesting clients that we work with in this product, and in some of the sessions that follows, we're going to go a bit more in depth into these case studies. So just quick overview of how the process is going to look like itself, right? So we're having the kickoff obviously today, and then over the next 7 weeks, we're going to have a mix of live sessions, demo recordings, and PSE shadowing. The attendance of live sessions is mandatory. We expect you to be here, but of course, if something happens, you cannot make it, there will be recordings available. I'd appreciate if you can just flag with me so that we know not to wait up for you. We'd love for these sessions to be quite interactive, so hence the kind of the live participation would be we see more beneficial, right? Now, after we go through the training, the certification itself is going to consist of 2 parts. We're going to have a knowledge test, and we're going to have a role play. So before you go through the role play, you're going to have a chance to practice it. You're going to have a chance to do a training role play, which Peter is going to do with you, and going to give you some feedback, so that we really, really want to make sure that you go into the certification itself fully prepared and ready to succeed. The knowledge test, which is going to be kind of the first part of the certification in week 8, the goal of that is also to kind of make sure that you're listening, that you're retaining the knowledge that you get. It's not going to be rocket science, as Peter mentioned when we were catching up, earlier today. But we will expect you to kind of look at everything that we've been through and remember these things. So that's why no reattempts, and we will expect you to score at least 8% to pass. Now, just one thing, that everything that's going to be in the knowledge test, you will learn through these weeks. There's going to be nothing outside of the curriculum, if that makes sense. So all you need to do is attend, maybe look back before the test. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question on the knowledge test. Will there be some type of book where everything will be written, or can it just be some stuff that are mentioned in the video?
That's going to be through the not videos, but the sessions, these these live sessions that we go through.
Okay.
That makes sense. We're not going to have it it's going to be in the presentations mostly. Yeah, Peter?
Yeah, and just to kind of reassure everyone, there's going to be lots of repetition as we progress. So you're going to see, today it might be, wow, this is complex. What does this mean? What does that mean? But again, there's going to be quite a lot of repetition as we go. So we're going to set you up for success. The knowledge assessment is merely just to ensure that you have retained the information. Again, just a second, Gabriella, it's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward, provided that you are attentive in the sessions. And then you'll have access to the slides post-session. So we'll make it interactive. We'll make the sessions quite fun, and then you'll have lots of resources to go back over and refresh. But what I would say is probably the most important part is going to be the pitch, which is going to be like, a dummy type scenario where you'll actually, pretend like I'm a customer or the assessor is a customer. And then again, the knowledge assessment is fairly straightforward. But again, just to verify that you have retained the info that we've covered.
Yes. Great, thank you, Peter. So as Peter started saying, so after the knowledge test, the mock pitch assessment, which I mentioned you're going to have a chance to train for as well, is going to be split into 2 parts. So we're going to have to do a discovery mock pitch and then the commercial plan presentation. And it's going to be evaluated by Peter himself and 2 POs for this product. And then finally, after hopefully everyone successfully passing through this, we're going to have a wrap-up session and just discuss how the next steps in terms of how we're going to enable the sales tools for you to start selling these products and everything, all the nitty-gritty of this. And just one more thing to mention, that throughout this process, as this is a pilot, certification, right? This is why we're keeping it to a very small group. So we will be looking for your feedback. I will be reaching out a couple of times throughout these weeks to understand, how you're feeling. Are you, comfortable with the knowledge you're getting? How's the format? All of these things. So we'll appreciate your honest feedback as we're looking to eventually scale this program. And so your feedback is going to be really valuable here. Okay. So in terms of how it looks like in the timeline, so we have it over 8 weeks, as I mentioned on chats with each of you. The expected kind of time commitments are about 3 hours each week. And this week we're going to have just 1 live session, and we're going to give you some recordings to watch. And so that's real customer recordings, So this is not something that you would be in the knowledge test, if that makes sense, but for you to learn from them. And then next week we're going to have 3 live sessions. From about week 3, we're going to introduce some PSC shadowing. Week 6, we're going to have the chance to do a role play prep, and then finally in week 8, that's going to be just a whole the week 4 already for testing and certification. So I'm hoping that this kind of gave you a brief overview of what's the objectives, how the schedule is going to look like, and how the process is going to look like. But if you have any questions at this stage, feel free to raise your hand and let me know if there's anything else that we could clarify. Go for it, Veronica. Mm-hmm.
So maybe less of a question, more of a ask, if possible, if the sessions could be put in the diary as early as known, as early as really helpful for someone like me. Both parents have full-time working, Revolut, and it just helps with planning for me. I know the sessions for next week are already in the diary, but if you know when the sessions for the following weeks are there, they'll be great. If not,
will do. Yes. So the sessions for the next week are already in the diary, and the week after as well. I think so. The next 2 weeks should have already, and then over the coming days, I'm going to add the rest of them for sure. Yes. I think just the PSC shadowing might be a little bit more ad hoc, but we're going to talk with Peter of how to arrange that as early as possible as well, because that's a little bit more dependent on the client calls. But I'm sure that's a little bit, there's more flexibility there, and we can make arrangements. All right. So. I saw most of you had accepted the sessions for next week, so make sure you have 3 sessions next week in your calendars and 1 for the week after. We're going to give you links to schedule to watch the suggested demo recordings. Also, I have set up a channel. I haven't invited you all yet, but we're going to use this channel and the Connected Cars API Cert channel for any questions, any resource sharing, any discussions, if you have some thoughts after sessions or anything, so to share with a group, feel free to use that channel. It's going to, or any feedback as well. So use it as much as you like. And then any other questions, or you can always reach out to Peter or myself directly as well. Right. So that's all from me. I'm gonna finally hand over to Peter to kick off the next part.
Thanks, Gabriella.
Okay.
So just as we transition slides, does anyone have any broad questions? Everyone excited?
Yeah, I don't have anything majorly asked just now anyway.
Brilliant. No worries.
That's great.
Well,
Thank
look,
you.
again, we'll keep it very free form. Okay, so you know, it's an open forum. We have a nice smaller group, so you know, don't be a stranger. There's no such thing as a silly question. So again, don't hesitate to jump in. You know, I don't mind being interrupted. Something's not clear, raise a hand and we can dive in. But again, we'll keep it as interactive and as fun as possible. Okay, obviously it is work at the end of the day, but we like to make work fun. So what we're going to do is just a really kind of high level introduction to the travel industry. So this is just going to be like a brief introduction to, you know, some of the content we'll cover in much more detail as we progress through the weeks. So again, this will be repeated, lots of elements, and we'll go into much further detail as we progress. So this is just to kind of set the stage and to give you kind of an initial look at type of content we'll cover and the type of knowledge that you'd have to retain. So to kick on, this is the learning outcome for today, is to understand the opportunity size of the Cards API product, discuss key trends affecting the travel industry, and recognize the key players within the travel industry. So travel is a mature market. There's lots of different players. There's lots of you know, real specific use cases. So again, it's a really clear use case for the customer as to why to use our virtual cards. But then when we look at the travel market in particular, there's lots of different players, and there's lots of overlap and crossover. So you need to know who they are, what they do, how does it impact the customer, and so on. So again, we'll go into much more detail as we progress. So number one, trends in global travel industry. Number two, key players. 3, key travel acronyms. There's lots of acronyms in travel. Again, they may seem hard to retain at the start, but once we dive into the actual topic, it'll be pretty self-explanatory, and then we should have time for a quick Q&A. So at a first glance, I'm interested. Does anyone recognize any of the acronyms on screen? You're going to get a bonus point. I've yet to know what the bonus point is going to get you, but you're going to get a bonus point if you know one. Guillaume, let's go.
Wait, do I need to know the name?
Yeah.
Do I
So
need to... Shoot. Okay. DMC, Destination Management Company.
Yes.
I know VCN is like virtual card something.
Number.
GDS Global. I forgot what GDS means. And
good attempt.
Yeah,
that's 2.
That's pretty much it.
Any
TMC
other
Travel
takers?
Management Company.
Yes, well done, Guillaume. Guillaume's running away with it. Declan, Veronica, Alex, any comments?
Really embarrassed, I can't think of any.
No,
Apart
don't
from
worry,
one you
don't
said,
worry. Really, don't worry. And as you can see, Guillaume has worked on quite a few opportunities with us, so maybe he has a bit of an edge.
Yeah, Guillaume took away my DMC. That's the only one I knew.
I was wondering if anyone is going to know what cute means. That one jumped out at me.
Fantastic. So again, we'll dive in. This is just to kind of get a gauge of the existing knowledge base. I suspected that Guillaume would know a couple. So yeah, well done, Guillaume. And don't worry, anyone who is totally confused and kind of scratching their head, thinking, how am I going to remember all these different acronyms? Again, we will dive into them in much greater detail. So we'll return to this topic a little bit later in the slides. So for now we'll kick on. But again, we're going to dive into exactly what each element is, and hopefully we will be in a better state where a couple of other suggestions or call-outs can be added. Okay, so trends in global travel, recovery and growth. Okay, so it's a huge vertical. and there's been lots of disruption in recent years with the pandemic. So we're going to dive into just a kind of a wide lens of the kind of opportunity size and different kind of interesting topics within the travel industry. So the total economic impact is about 9.6 trillion. Okay, so it's absolutely, you know, enormous in terms of scope. It's about 9.1% of global GDP. Okay. In terms of gross bookings, again, we can see 1.6 trillion. Specifically to virtual cards, there's about 200 billion processed per annum. And we see from our customer base, there's lots of runway. So we're constantly onboarding new accounts. We're constantly identifying new opportunities. So it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving. There was lots of hesitation at the start to think, you know, maybe we'll run out of potential opportunity size or the big fish, but month on month, we have more players coming to the table. We have more success in the product, and we have lots of product enhancements that are going to be rolled out across this year. That's going to even further broaden our scope and the type of customers we can support. Okay, so I'm just conscious of time. These slides are going to be shared, and you can dive into the detail, and there's links that you can follow to get the actual source, and you can learn some additional content. But again, I won't read everything out verbatim, just so you know. There will be a certain level of, you know, reflection that we'd expect from your side. So post-pandemic travel landscape. So of course, everything came to a halt in the pandemic, right? Lockdowns globally, huge disruption. It had a huge knock-on effect to travel agencies, huge consequences to airlines. So really across the board, it was totally unexpected, of course, pandemic, and it had a huge knock-on effect, particularly in this industry. So tailwinds, there is growing demand. So post-pandemic revenge travel, which is an interesting term, is basically people have been, you know, locked up for X amount of time, or they've missed, you know, 2 years, 3 years of holidays. Now they want to get back and they want to, you know, see the place that they wish to visit over the last 5 years. And we've seen a real bounce back. So this bounce back happened around 1 year ago in the EU and Great Britain. And we're seeing a real bounce back even today in APAC. So of course, that is a new region where we're expanding to Revolut Business, and we'll dive into more specifics around that. But effectively, it's across the board. We've seen a huge surge in travel since we're back to business as usual. Bravecations and new heyday holidays are other interesting terms. And Gabriella, feel free to jump in at any point if you want to add.
Yeah. That was just something when I was looking at, like, you know, what's happening in this industry. Like I came across these terms, and I linked some, like, a few interesting articles at the end of this deck, which we'll share. So like things like bravecations, so people looking for like exciting, you know, maybe more dangerous way to spend their time traveling, like you can imagine like extreme sports and just like, you know, all these things kind of you only live once. And then there's a new trend, which was coined as new heydays, which is kind of talking about the nostalgic traveling. So they're saying how millennials are now coming of age and having their own kids, and they are taking the kids back to have holidays similar to what they used to have, you know, with their own parents. And this is kind of apparently quite a big trend. Or you know, they're taking their kids to summer camps, or even themselves going to adult versions of summer camps. So there's a few of those kind of interesting shifts happening that I think is worth exploring.
Certainly. Thanks, Gabriella. And with that, when we dive into different specifics, the real kind of devil in the detail is when it comes to the time you're actually going to be prospecting in the travel market, and then you can get a little bit more creative in how you identify opportunities and how you can create unique value propositions for these opportunities. So just to kind of quickly scan down through the rise of experiential tourism. So again, unique trips, immersive experiences, and you know, growth type holidays where, you know, people might go away training, or they might learn a new skill. Again, lots of niche travel focuses, and agencies have adopted this also. So we see a real variation in the types of travel companies we service today. Again, luxury would be a very common one, but now, of course, you have eco-friendly type holidays. We have ski solutions or ski specialists. We have religious tours, so pilgrimages. So again, lots of different types of travel companies, and it's a very, very established market, which basically provides lots of diversification. And then again, in turn, these are the customers that we will effectively service. Package holidays is you know, a staple. So when we look at a travel agency, of course, they put the package together, and that is the kind of key value add. But then you have, you know, certain reasons as to why someone would go for a package holiday. Okay, so you could have an elderly person, they don't want, or they're not, you know, savvy online. They'd rather someone else to book the trip for them. Maybe they're a little bit more apprehensive about traveling, and they want to just peace of mind. Or you have solo travel, so people may not have friends to go abroad with, or maybe it doesn't align with their schedules. And then you have like group holidays, so it's lots of individuals that are all brought around together, and then again, it's kind of back to that kind of experience type holiday. Digital transformation, so again, increasing adoption in virtual cards, and this is just a general tailwind. AI driven technology, and then developments in online booking systems. So again, we will dive into much more detail as we progress. Headwinds, so what are some challenges? Economic uncertainty, of course, inflation, rising costs effect on travel budgets, labor shortages, so staff shortages that disrupt service and quality, geopolitical instability. I don't need to dive in any further on this topic. As you know, there's lots of geopolitical conflict in the world today. And again, this has a knock-on consequence on travel in specific regions, of course. Potential health risks, so future pandemics could prompt renewed restrictions. Over tourism, so that's an interesting one in the likes of Spain, where you have like overcrowding in certain areas. And then persisting hesitation in accepting agency cards. So again, this is a broader term specific to travel cards, and it's a key challenge that's faced across the board by travel agencies today. Again, we'll be sharing everything with you post session, so we can dive into the details in your own time, and follow the links that Gabriella has kindly provided. Again, just some interesting topics. Airbnb's Polly Pocket Home appeal to nostalgic travelers. Guillaume, you might want to get on that one. Polly Pocket holiday for you. White Lotus season 3 has anyone seen White Lotus? Just a quick question. I know me and Gabriella have.
Yeah.
Veronica? Yeah, Declan? Very good.
Coming out.
Shaking his head. Well, if you're looking for something to watch tonight, Guillaume. Alex, have you?
Can you hear me, guys? Because I think my computer is like dying.
Oh, not to worry. A little bit delayed, I think, Alex. But we'll leave you resolve the technical issue. Have you seen White Lotus? Yes, no? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, fantastic. So good to watch. And again, this has a knock-on impact on the actual traveler. So you're influencing people. I know when I watched season 1 and season 2, you know, it was making me think of holidays and making me think of, you know, going away abroad. So again, these you know, series and content that people consume can have a knock-on impact on the actual travel. So additional crowds planned for Thailand. Another topic for Thailand would be like, you know, Mai Tai type holidays. I was with a friend last night in London, and he was just back from a solo trip where he went on a kind of a solo group holiday, went to Thailand and trained in Mai Tai for a week. So again, lots of different unique types of packages, and we can use this to create real unique offerings for our customers and show that we actually understand their business model and we can support them further. And then in contrast, anti-tourism protests in Spain. So there's new restrictions and bans coming in to limit the amount of tourist apartments available in places such as Malaga, where it's quite overcrowded. So again, both pros and cons that will have a knock-on consequence in travel. So key players in the travel industry. So again, that was just kind of a quick highlight, couple of interesting topics. Does anyone have any questions on anything we discussed? Nope. Fantastic. So moving along, conscious of the time, key players in the travel industry. So again, there's lots of different players that have different roles and specialties within travel. So we are focused on travel intermediaries, which is a quite broad term, and we'll dive into the specifics of travel intermediaries in the next slide. So a distribution agent that participates in the sale and or brokerage of a travel and tourism related product or service. So effectively, someone who is between the customer and the airline or hotel or whatever is involved in that actual package holiday is known as a travel intermediary. The most common example would be an OTA or an online travel agency. OTA might come up in a future slide, and it may have been presented in a previous slide. So again, just an example of an acronym that's going to be quite apparent as we progress. So OTAs are our ideal client profile today. And then we have travel management companies, which Guillaume knows is a TMC. Again, we have dedicated sessions to do deep dives into these. So don't worry, this is just to kind of set the scene today, but we'll have much more comprehensive sessions to follow. So this is just kind of a high level of travel intermediaries when they act as a merchant using a virtual card. Lots of benefits. So simplified workflows, improved reconciliation. So we can match one-to-one per payment. We can spin up a virtual card via an API. You have flexibility, so a single payment associated with the booking, and it's simpler to amend or track. Cards only get issued for a specific supplier, time and amount, so that can be a control element, can provide enhanced security to the underlying travel company. And then of course there's incentives. So this is a cost beneficial exercise with a customer. We review their volumes and we can give them very competitive rebates that will actually make this a cost beneficial exercise. So this can really drive adoption within the landscape. Alex?
Yes, can you hear me? Because my computer is dying, but I can hear you. So, okay, perfect. So yeah, it's just I wanted to raise something because I had a client in Slovakia that was doing actually like big volumes. But the issue I had with them after some meeting is that basically he told me that it was linked to the, if I remember well, the IATA regulation or something like this. And basically they were explaining me that it was not allowed for them to use travel agent card to pay for flight tickets of clients. And so did we find a way, because this was, I think, like 1.5 years ago or something like this, did we come up with like a solution to this kind of objection?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So that's a common concern or challenge within the industry. And again, we'll go into specifics around the International Airline Trade Association. We'll provide you information on who they are, what they do, how do they represent airlines in the industry, what's the knock-on consequence to the travel company. But yeah, please be assured, we certainly will provide how to manage objections like that and give you much further insights into what it basically means for the customer. But great to hear, Alex, that you're familiar with the topic. And again, that's actually a dedicated session that we'll dive into. Very conscious of time. So,
sorry, just on that, Peter, I know that, yeah, we're just about on time. How is everyone feeling for staying for extra few minutes, or should we cut the session now and then continue at the...
I think we can cut the session at this slide, as we'll dive into quite specific information in the next. So if we can just carry it on into next week, Gabriella.
Okay, sounds good.
So again, market size, you'll have all this content post-call, but travel intermediaries volume represents over 1/3 of global travel. So the travel agencies that we support are a huge driver in this 1.6 trillion market. Okay. So again, huge opportunity with lots of scope. It was great to meet you all and kind of set the scene today. Again, we had some kind of more detailed slides coming up, but I think it's best if we call it a day there, and then we can pick up where we left off in our next session. But does anyone have any questions before we kind of conclude today? No.
Nothing too major.
Fantastic. Well, if any do pop up in the meantime, be sure to jot them down. Keep track, and we can bring them up on the next topic or the next presentation. And again, very excited to work with you all over the coming weeks, and a really exciting opportunity in front of us all here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. And just one last thought from me. I'm gonna add you all to the Slack channel, and I'm gonna share a link for first recording for you guys to watch. Okay, so before the next session. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thanks,
good rest of your
Gabriella.
day.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.